Good morning and welcome to TEDx Hilton. TED is devoted to spreading ideas, usually in the form of short, powerful talks. TED began in 1984 as a conference where technology, entertainment, and design converged and today covers almost all topics in more than 110 different languages. Meanwhile, independently run TEDx events help share ideas in communities around the world. Today's TED Talks will inspire, motivate, and challenge you in ways that you did not expect. These TED Talks offer new perspectives on ideas, and in some cases, will encourage you to make a change. They truly do reveal the things that these students are most passionate about. On behalf of Mrs. Julia and myself, I want to thank the number of people that are here today to support the work of our students. Parents, families, teachers, and students, thank you for taking time to attend our session today. We are hopeful that you will take away something that is applicable to your own life. We would also like to welcome our Superintendent, Dr. Kosorek, Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Sarash, school board members, building principals, and other district administration that will be joining us today. We're so excited that you are here to celebrate the learning that is happening among our students.
You can never judge a book by its cover. I'll bet you've heard that saying. How many times have you seen a great book title or cover, but once you start reading, it's not at all what you expected? People can be the same way. Looks are often misleading. If someone is smiling and seems completely fine, you may not know what's truly hiding on the inside. Sometimes the book's cover may lie. The inside shows a story that you might have never expected. Or, in some cases, if the book doesn't want to open, you may never know what it's actually about. There are people we encounter each and every day that won't open up to others or put on a fake cover. There are so many things that you may not know are going on in someone's life. Half the children living in the U.S. will witness their parents divorce or already have. Each day, 4 or 5 more children experience child neglect. 80% of high school students suffer from anxiety, with 60% of them going untreated. 13.5% of America lives in poverty. In fact, 1 in every 5 children don't know when their next meal will be. This reminds us that we often don't know the problems that others are struggling with. So when Sammy walks by in hall and won't make eye contact, or James yells at you for no reason during class, or Julia ignores you in the lunch line, know that it may not be your fault. There are millions of unknown stories hidden inside of everyone you encounter. Your simple smile, extra kind word during class, or friendly hello can go a long way. Thank you.
Do you ever feel like there is a voice inside your head? A voice that can compliment you when you do something well, but also has the capability to tear you apart and make you feel worthless? For many years, this voice seemed non-existent. As I've gotten older, though, it seemed to pop up more often and at the most troublesome times. I actually remember the first time I ever realized it existed. I was in 4th grade. My teacher handed back my math test, and my heart sank. The voice kicked into high gear. A 2? My mom is going to kill me. Since then, I found that the voice shows up whenever I make mistakes or in an uncomfortable situation. A few weeks ago, the voice showed up while I was working at the kids' coffee cafe. I made an innocent mistake while brewing a cup of coffee. Instead of cinnamon dolce, I gave the customer a Nantucket blend. Geez. The voice made me feel like I just committed a second-degree crime. This feeling creates a breeding ground for bad emotions. It spirals from one bad thought to another. My guess is that some of you have experienced the same feeling. That inner voice is your conscience, and unfortunately, if you let it take control, it can cause you a lot of pain. It's important to find ways to take control of our negative thoughts. We all make mistakes, that's a given. Finding ways to channel these bad thoughts, figure out what's most important, and remain positive is something I'm continuing to work on. My advice to you is to surround yourself with people who support you and positively impact your life. Do things you enjoy, pursue a talent or area of interest. When the voice tries creeping in, remember who you are and cut yourself some slack. Use it as a way to learn from your mistakes, not as an enemy that can cause you stress and pain. Thank you.
My name is Aiden, and I wanted to share with you guys a little bit about fire safety. Who here has ever gone camping? Okay, so now to the people who just raise their hand, raise your other hand if at any time you started a campfire, a bonfire, even just a simple cooking fire. Well, let me tell you that by just doing that, you could have started the world's largest wildfire, because all you need to start one is a spark. A lot of the most horrible fires aren't caused by horrible people. Some of the ways we start them are leaving camping fires unattended with simple matches and lighters, and with open burning and backyard burning. Cigarette butts and lighters are one of our greatest problems. Children under the age of 10 start about 100,000 fires a year with simple lighters and matches that have been left out. Imagine what an entire bonfire would do. A lot of kids die because of simple mistakes. 300 to 400 kids die each year by starting house fires with matches that have been left out. Open burning or backyard burning is something I think a lot of people do, and it's an effective way to get rid of solid trash like paper cups and plastic bowls. The most common form of backyard burning is barrel burning. You throw your trash into the barrel and light it on fire. This can cause unwanted toxins to be released into the surrounding area and harm the ecosystems around you. Barrel burning can also cause fires if there's dry vegetation near the barrel or if the barrel falls over. Barrel burning is highly common in rural communities and is highly illegal. If not contained properly, a fire can cause major damage. Between 2011 and 2015, U.S. fire departments responded to about 358,500 fires a year. That's 1,792,500 fires in 5 years. That caused 12,300 people to be injured and 2,510 people to die. That cost U.S. taxpayers $6.7 billion to repair. That's the cost of 42 F-3FA fighter jets. Because of forest fires, we lose 1,000 to 2,000 types of mammals, plants, and insects each year. That means, statistically speaking, in 8,700 years, we'll be the only species of animal left in the world. One of the basic things people mess up when they start a fire is that they don't realize the damage that they can incur. So they don't take the protective measures of putting stones around the pit to keep the fire from leaping away or keeping water and shovel handy. The best way to extinguish a fire is with the drown, stir, and feel method. What this means is that you 1, pour water over the fire, 2, use a shovel to push the fuel away from the hot coals and embers such as dry logs and dry grass, and 3, cover the fire with dirt and feel for warmth. When I tried this method, it only took 10 to 15 minutes tops. All of this happens because of things we know better about. If it only takes a single match to start a huge fire, and if misused, a very large one, then it should be clear. Be careful with fire. Thank you.
Fortnite. You may be one of the 40 million people that play this highly addictive game worldwide. Ever since Fortnite Battle Royale became popular, behaviors, particularly in boys, have changed at home and in the classroom. Multiple studies have shown that Fortnite tends to have more negative effects than positives. All PvP games require internet. Therefore, players have the capability to communicate with each other. Age is not a factor. Many parents and students find this harmless. However, things like kidnapping can occur if parental control is not present. These games also expose kids to many levels of violence and violent behaviors. The studies have shown that kids not new to these experiences become numb to violence, imitate the violence, and show more aggression. However, many people do argue that PvP games bring out the best in us. They allow us to play along with peers, resulting in better socialization, problem solving, and fine motor skills. But this only holds true when these games are played in moderation. Almost always, kids and parents sometimes, though I'm assuming that's very, very, very rare, lose time with their family, kids mostly, their grades in school, exercise, and sleep. Those are the 4 things that are most often compromised when these games are played excessively. We need to make a change. Parents, make sure you know what your kids are involved in when it comes to video games. Teachers, if you notice a change, do something about it. Follow up with the parents and the student. Students, if you are one of the 40 million people that play this highly addictive game worldwide, put the controller down. Play outside, find a new hobby, or maybe a new book to read. Don't just be a statistic. Thank you.
If your parents are anything like mine, it's quite common to hear things like, "Why don't you go eat an apple instead of that candy, or go clean your room?" And as much as I hate hearing these things, I have to say my parents' words of wisdom are worth more than I give them credit for. For example, my parents have helped me develop healthy eating habits. My mom packs me a chicken and cheese, lettuce salad, fruits, and water. Fruits and vegetables are low in fat, salt, and sugar. Meat contains protein, which functions as building blocks for bones, muscles, cartilage, skin, and blood. Water serves as your body's transport system, and you need water to stay hydrated. My parents also helped me develop good social skills. I'm involved in sports and other activities where my parents drop or pick me up. Research has shown that by interacting with others, you can improve your memory, and being social also protects our brains from neurodegenerative diseases, which are diseases that affect the neurons in the brain. Some of these diseases are Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and even frontotemporal dementia. So even though we often get irritated or annoyed by the things our parents say, it's important to know how influential and beneficial they can be. Give them credit for their wisdom. They deserve it.
I would put people in 3 categories. The first group of people feel like they do no wrong and are always right. The second group of people know they aren't perfect, but they use their mistakes to help them improve. And the third group of people don't believe in themselves and have a hard time feeling like they do anything right. Today, I challenge you to think about this third group of people, the people who feel like they don't belong in this world and have a hard time fitting in and feeling like they do anything right. I have occasionally found myself falling into this third category. And hear me when I say, all of you, especially this third group of people, have a place. You have power to do good things and make a difference. Do you know what depression is? Depression is when you feel sad and empty. Do you know what low self-esteem is? Low self-esteem is when you think lesser of yourself than other people. So many people in this world deal with depression and a low self-esteem, which alters your perception on life and your everyday decisions. I have personally experienced depression. After my cat died, I became very depressed. My anxiety was out of control and it really took a toll on me. I was angry with myself because I felt like I didn't spend enough time with my cat. I wished I had made a stronger connection with her before she died, then maybe I wouldn't have felt so upset. I have also had times when I struggle with having a low self-esteem. In social situations, I often found myself feeling alone and left out. I often felt like my peers were plotting something against me. This wasn't always true, but this was how I was made to feel. Though sometimes I try to joke around and be happy, a lot of those moments are when I think people dislike me. I have learned that I'm not the only person in this world who has experienced depression or low self-esteem. J.K. Rowling, the well-known author of Harry Potter, lived in poverty when she was younger and was unemployed. She struggled with depression almost her entire life. Michael Phelps, one of the best Olympic swimmers, struggled with his lack of self-confidence despite how talented he was. Some of you may have family members who may deal with depression or low self-esteem. People like J.K. Rowling and Michael Phelps needed positive experiences to help them feel valued and wanted. So here I am. I'm sure some of you can relate to me. You may be in the same category that I occasionally have found myself in. If you battle depression or low self-esteem, I challenge you to listen carefully. Over time, I've learned to deal with my feelings of depression and low self-esteem. I've learned to understand myself a bit better and to know I'm important and special in my own way. Therapy is something that can help. Therapists offer strategies and ideas to help you fight these problems. I work hard to surround myself with people who care about me. I participate in sports and activities that bring me joy and happiness. I have learned that I can contribute positively. I have power to do good things and make a difference. Don't underestimate yourself in any way. Believe in yourself. Put yourself out there. You can be the first person on Mars. You can find the cure for cancer. Maybe you can even find the solution to stopping world hunger. With positivity and the right mindset, we can change the world. You can be like J.K. Rowling, Michael Phelps, and even myself. The possibilities are endless.
Hi, my name is Ian Kingdollar, and I have a question for you. Do you use social media? If you do, raise your hand. Quite a few of you. When most people think about social media, they think of reading posts, watching videos, and chatting with friends. It's a great way to stay connected. But it has many dangers. One danger is sharing too much information online. Your name, your age, and where you go to school can allow strangers to figure out where you live and how to find you. Another danger is that it's very addictive. When a kid gets a like, it triggers a reward sensor in the brain. More likes equals more rewards. Soon, the kid will start doing things that could get himself hurt or others hurt, things that could be inappropriate, that could get him in trouble now or later, like when he's trying to get a job, or things that are just mean, and that's called cyberbullying. Cyberbullying, which leads us to the third danger. Cyberbullying is the same as bullying somebody, using the internet to post bad things about kids and people. Imagine you threw up in class. Pretty embarrassing at first. You go home sick, a couple days later, you come back, everybody forgot about it, no big deal. Now imagine somebody videotaped you throwing up in class and posted it online. Now not only your whole class knows about it, the whole school does. And pretty soon the whole community does. Everywhere you go, people are whispering behind your back, making rude gestures, or just being plain mean. They're also commenting on the post, and some of the comments are pretty nasty. Victims of cyberbullying may stop socializing, start doing poorly in school, or even hurt themselves. I chose this topic because it makes me feel sad that people have had things happen to them just because of what people have posted about them online. Social media may be a great way to stay connected, but it has many dangers. So parents, I know I'm gonna regret this. Limit your kids' screen time. Know who their social media friends are and know what they're posting on the web. Help us use technology safely. Thank you.
In the past 20 years, there has been an increase in the amount of time children and adolescents spend outside of school in structured activities, which has limited and in some cases taken away their ability to have any time for leisure activities. Taking the time to read a book, write a story, or even hang out with friends is an important part of a healthy lifestyle. It allows us to be creative, use our imagination, and make decisions on our own. Our culture encourages kids to be involved in lots of sports and activities. The level of commitment that sports teams and other groups require is much different than it used to be. Coaches and club leaders expect members to devote lots of their time to their organization, making it hard to juggle other things at the same time. It is hard to find a team that doesn't practice all year long. I've always loved drawing and painting. When I was little, my mom and I would spend time painting and drawing things together. She would make a stick figure and I would make a simple portrait. But as time went on, I've gotten so busy with all of my other commitments that it was forgotten. It wasn't until this past Christmas that I realized I was missing out on something that I loved. I got an art kit from my grandma and used it to make a pastel purple elephant, bright yellow giraffe, and a beach scene using sand, shells, and washed up coral that I got on my vacation last summer, and most recently, a mountain scene. I remembered how much art truly means to me. Now this is important because most things that we love aren't available at school. especially at a young age when there aren't many clubs to join. For example, next year, going into middle school, we won't have any art classes our first year because of more important subjects. Now, as you know, art is a big deal for me, as it is something I'm passionate about, and usually my only time to do it is in school because of homework and sports. Not to mention, some kids don't enjoy those extra activities. Now, if I had to guess, I bet some of you are like me. Your passions are lost or have been overtaken by other commitments. I challenge you today to re-examine the things you do. Have you found time for the things you love? If not, I encourage you to do so. Otherwise, you are missing out on something that brings you true happiness and joy. Thank you.
I'm Ryan, and I would like to talk to you about a world problem. The world is approaching 10 billion people, and 40% of the world's land is farmland. How is there going to be enough room for people and farmland? There's not going to be enough space for people to live if we have too much farmland. But if we have too many houses and businesses and buildings, there's not going to be enough room for farmland. According to the World Bank, the world population is around 7.53 billion people. It is expected that the world population will continue to increase. Currently, the rate of growth per year is around 82 million people. This is a major concern because the land area of Earth is limited to only about 13 billion hectares. As the population increases, there's becoming less and less room for farmland, resulting in more hungry people. It's hard to find a balance because all these numbers are constantly changing. It's hard to find the space. Where I live, it used to be mostly farmland. Hilton was the place for farmers. Now there are so many businesses, houses, and other developed lands. Of course, you need to make room for schools or hospitals, but you cannot forget you need to eat. Where are the farmers going to go? A while back, my mom and I went to pick strawberries at the farm. There's so much room for them to grow strawberries. It covers a lot of land. I hardly ever see a farm anymore. It got me thinking, how else could we not use up all this space? Then I thought, up. You grow food up. If you do not understand, think of cars or clothes. For cars, when there is not enough space for parking lots, you have parking garages. For clothes, you do not lay all your clothes all over the floor. You put them in a dresser on top of each other. The same can be done for food. It just makes sense. When you are lacking space, just go up. Vertical farming is the term. Vertical farming is the practice of growing produce in vertically stacked layers. Vertical farming can use soil, gravel, liquid, sand, or even no soil to grow plants. Vertical farms attempt to produce food in challenging environments, like where good farming land is rare or unavailable. Vertical farming is a revolutionary approach to producing high quantities of nutritious and quality fresh food all year round. Vertical farming does not rely on skilled labor, favorable weather, high soil fertility, or high water use. The method helps mountainside towns, deserts, and cities grow different types of fruits and vegetables using skyscraper-like designs and precision agriculture methods. There are a lot of benefits to vertical farming. Technology helps vertical farmers get the most from the farm. Crops are grown in a closed and monitored environment. The plants aren't exposed to bad weather conditions or pests, decreasing the need for harmful chemical products. Vertical farmers can control the humidity, nutrients, water, and light exposure in the growing area. Controlled lamps help the plants get more light, which encourages them to grow faster than plants that depend on the sun. Result: because of the controlled environment, crops can be harvested more than once a year, resulting in a higher yield than traditional farming. Vertical farms are more sustainable than typical farms because they use less water, which is often recycled throughout the system. They take up less space. Vertical farms also use fewer fossil fuels because they don't rely on heavy pieces of machinery, such as tractors and harvesters. As technology continues to advance and the world population continues to increase, New approaches will improve the effectiveness of vertical farms. Vertical farming is changing the agricultural industry and gives us a place to start for finding better, more sustainable ways to grow food. Thank you.
Sometimes life can feel like a bumpy road full of potholes. Most of us know what it's like to be driving along when you suddenly hit a pothole. It jerks you around and shocks you, makes you drive slower. The problem with these potholes is when you drive slower, it makes you not reach your full potential, not reaching your destination in time. These potholes kept catching me off guard and throwing me off my course. I've always loved playing basketball, but offensive skills have never come easy to me. Missing shot after shot, losing dribble after dribble, started to get in my head. I started to question whether sports was something I should pursue longer. Then I thought to myself, what happened if I quit? I wouldn't have to deal with the stress of preparing for a game anymore, never with the stress of thinking that I let down my team, and never thinking I wasn't good enough. But if I did quit, I never would think I would accomplish something, or I'd never be able to make new friends. So this past basketball season, I decided to devote more time and spend more time in the gym, work on my handles whenever I could, and watch NBA games to learn from the people who did it best. Baseball was kind of the same way. I was never a good hitter, and those of you that know baseball know if you can't hit, you can't play. So I'm excited to get to the cages this season and perfect my swing. I've always wanted to be a good athlete, but these potholes of life kept slowing me down. As I said before, it was never easy, and it never will be. But with hard work and dedication, you can always achieve your goals. For you, your dreams may have nothing to do with mine, but regardless what they are, they can be achieved with hard work, dedication, and effort. And I'd like to leave you with one thing before I go. Never, ever give up, and it will pay dividends. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Tyler Coughlin, and I'm here to talk about smartphones. Raise your hand if you have a phone. You can put your hand down. That's a lot of you. Probably because you think phones are awesome, right? You can do so many things on it. You can have a conversation with someone in a whole nother country. You can watch movies and play games. You can take photos and videos and post them on social media. You can do anything on this perfect device. But wait, sometimes you think that your phone is awesome. You can do so many things on it. But have you ever stopped to think that you might be addicted? Research shows that technological addiction can happen to anyone. You may think this little supercomputer is flawless, but it isn't. Here are a few reasons why I think smartphones aren't as great as you think they are. Reason number 1, have you ever felt like you forget a lot? I have some information that might be helpful. Writing stuff down on your phone worsens memory. There's a study proven that if you write more stuff down on your phone, that you rely too much on your phone and less on your memory, so it gets worse. Reason number 2, phones can give you neck pain, eye strain, headaches, and more. This happens because looking at a screen for an extended period of time causes you to blink less, which deprives your eyes of moisture. Another thing is that your bones don't really do anything, so they start to ache. Reason number 3, some things that may click if you're addicted are changes in mood, like anger, depression, and restlessness, aches that I mentioned before, and loss of time on your device. Reason number 4, one more thing. Phones can cut into family time and social activities. Studies show that while using their cell phones, parents talk less to their kids less, respond more slowly, and overact to being interrupted. You may think that posting on social media is a social activity, but it isn't. People lie on the internet a lot, and your friend on Instagram could be totally different than you thought. I hope you now know that phones aren't perfect. They were made by humans who aren't perfect. So next time you look at your phone, I want you to think about how much time you spend on it and how much you need to spend on it. Thank you.
Have you ever had the common cold? I'm positive you have. But do you know what it really is? I certainly didn't. It's one of the most virulent viral pathogens. The common cold is an illness caused by a virus. 50% of colds are caused by something called rhinovirus, which means nose. You can then either get a sore throat, ear infection, or infection of the sinuses. And in some severe cases, it can lead to pneumonia or bronchitis. An average adult gets the cold 2 to 4 times a year. Aren't they lucky? Something called the HPEV causes the common cold. HPEV stands for human pericovirus. To prevent getting the common cold, doing things like frequently washing your hands and covering your mouth when you sneeze and cough are good habits to follow. But in terms of fighting the virus off, strengthening your immune system is perhaps the most important. Your immune system is your body's defense against infectious organisms and other invaders. Some people take medicine in hopes of curing the common cold. However, medicine only helps the symptoms for a limited amount of time. Over time, an excessive amount of medicine actually weakens the immune system. It reduces the levels of cytokines, the hormone messengers of the immune system. Research has shown that antibiotics almost never cure the common cold. The bottom line is there's no cure for the common cold. Will there one day be one? Let's hope so. But in the meantime, your best bet is to strengthen your immune system. So how do you strengthen your immune system? It's actually quite simple, by eating and drinking, not your typical chips and soda, but healthy food. Almonds and yogurt contain vitamin E and help fight diseases. Red bell peppers contain 2 times the amount of vitamin C as citruses. Fruits and vegetables are also good for the immune system, such as spinach, kiwi, garlic, and ginger. Shellfish contain zinc, which helps strengthen the cells. A drink that's really good for your immune system is green tea because it contains so many antioxidants. So next time that you're sitting at your dinner table, about to scrape off your plate and feed your dog your green beans and Brussels sprouts, think about what it can do for you in the long run. You know what they say, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Thank you.
Albert Einstein once said, "Imagination is more important than knowledge. For while knowledge defines all we currently know and understand, imagination points to all we might yet discover and create." But is our ability to imagine and be creative disappearing? Our world is changing, and the opportunities for kids, teens, and even adults to find time to read are decreasing. Studies show that over 50% of 17-year-olds only read for pleasure twice a year. And since 1984, 13-year-olds who read for pleasure went from 70% to only 53%. And 17-year-olds who read for pleasure went from 64% to less than 40%. But why has this happened? Why aren't kids and teens not reading as much as we used to? Well, an increase in technology among our kids and teens has taken the place of leisure activities such as reading. Kids would much rather play on their electronics, watch TV, than take part in activities like reading. Also, as kids and teens get older, they find themselves involved with more and more after-school activities, decreasing the time that they have to read. And as adults get more involved in their jobs, they can find themselves coming home later and later from work each night. But reading is more than just a story. Reading opens our minds to a whole new world of imagination. With characters like Harry Potter and Percy Jackson, our imaginations can soar. Reading also helps us inspire change and be grateful for what we have, because a lot of times, characters and stories have it a lot harder than we do. We can use characters' struggles to learn from, and they help us be grateful for all the things that we have in life. Reading, when you get lost in a good book, there's no way to escape. You find yourself laughing and crying along with the characters. You root for them when they succeed and sympathize with them when things go wrong. Reading helps us experience and analyze the world through other people's perspectives and lives. It stimulates the right side of our brain, opening our minds to new possibilities and ideas. The world of imagination is fascinating. Don't lose sight of your imagination. Pick up a book and read. Thank you.
Have you ever wanted to do something that seemed impossible? Something that you truly love to do, but the challenges made it seem impossible? I have always wanted to be a star basketball player. However, I have been faced with a condition that has affected me physically, socially, and emotionally. Many people are unaware that I was born with cerebral palsy, a condition that affects movement, muscle tone, and posture, and is caused by the damage to the brain of a fetus or a newborn. CP affects each person differently. Some people have muscle imbalances, which can lead to frequent muscle spasms, while others have little mobility, can be wheelchair-bound, and may even need a metal rod in their spine to help them with posture. Luckily, my condition is very mild to the extent that many people don't even know I have CP. Growing up, I have been seen as a normal kid, doing the same things as others, like playing sports, riding a bike, and performing on stage. However, there have been many challenges. When I run, I have frequent pain in my left leg and lower back. Sprinting up and down the basketball court and quick turns on the football field are very difficult and painful. This has impacted my success of being the star basketball player I have always wanted to be. Sometimes I felt like just giving up. Because of my CP being mild and not having many physical noticeable effects, it hasn't been something I talk about or tell people. But there have been many challenges. I have learned to accept who I am and embrace the physical difficulties CP has given me. I may not be the fastest one on the football field or the best one on the basketball court, but it hasn't stopped me from doing the things I enjoy the most. So if there's something you truly love to do, I challenge you to persevere, work hard, accept who you are, and embrace and be proud of what you've accomplished. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sierra Bianchi. So I was at a soccer tournament, and I was like 10 to 20 minutes before our second game. And we were really excited about the game, but we were getting really bored from just sitting around. So we started to look around the hallways. And we turned a hallway, and we found an empty classroom. So us being 11-year-olds, we went into the classroom, we moved around the desks and the teachers' desks. And we didn't know that our coach was following us the whole time. And so he walked in with a really mad face. And I don't know exactly, but I think we were all thinking the same thing. Oh, shoot. And he walked in with a really mad face, but he just casually walked over to the teacher desk. And he said, "Everybody take a seat." And we didn't want to get in more trouble, so we did as we were told. And then we just had a few moments of silence. And then he started talking, and he said, "We all know that we lost our last game, and if we lose this game, we won't make it into the finals." And after that, he just kept talking and talking and talking. And I was so bored. I was about to put my head on my desk when I looked behind me and saw all of my teammates asleep on their desks. And so I just casually reached over, grabbed my friend's phone, started recording, and then I hear, "Sarah, what are you doing with that phone?" And the whole team woke up, and they took out their phones and started recording. And then the coach was running aisle to aisle to aisle, grabbing all the phones from our hands, and now we're just playing a game. And then it was finally time for our second game, and we were ready. And that really taught me that in sports, you don't always have to be so serious. So now let's talk about how sports affect your life. According to the website Teen Inc., when your body lets out positive vibes from your friends in sports, it can reduce your stress, ward off anxiety and depression, boost your self-esteem, and improve your sleep. New research also suggests that physical activity can help children develop important skills such as leadership and empathy. It can also teach children that you don't always win and that it's okay to lose. Also, according to the website Livestrong, playing sports can help with health and fitness. Participating in a sport has a positive influence in many areas. It supports mental health and it improves social skills. It's also a way to make new friends and create new memories. So if we know that sports have all these positive aspects, then why do we only care about winning and losing? Well, science shows that when you get yelled at before a performance or game, you begin to lose confidence in yourself. For example, Once, I was at another soccer tournament, and it was the game-winning goal. It was tied 3-3. And another girl on the team was about to score, but she missed it. And after the game, I saw her parents talking to her and tears coming down her face. And then she went into her next game, and she missed more goals than she did the first game. Now, was that because she didn't have any skill? No. It was because she had all these negative thoughts in her head. So now that I've told you all the important stuff, let's get to the facts. How can you help? Well, kids these days battle with anxiety and depression because they don't get enough friend time in sports. Or when they do play sport, all they care about is when they win or lose. Now, if you're a parent, this goes out to you. If your kid is involved in a sport, when they lose a game, don't yell at them on what they did wrong. Congratulate them on what they did right. Because every time your kid gets negative words said to them, they become more and more unsure of themselves. Have you ever wondered why kids quit sports? Well, science shows that half the time it's because they don't like the sport anymore and they want to play a different one, and the other half is because they don't like getting yelled at. I mean, this is for the kids. Raise your hand if you don't like to get yelled at. Exactly my point. Now, what about the parents? Parents, raise your hand if you don't like to get yelled at. It can be by your parent, or it can be by your husband, your wife, your boss, anybody. See, nobody likes to get yelled at, which is why we all need to stop taking sports so seriously. Sports are made to have fun. Yes, you also want to win, but if you lose, it's not the end of the world. Kids are meant to be kids. So remind your parents, remind your coaches, sports are made to have fun and enjoy. Thank you.
Has anyone ever wondered how much food is wasted each year? 72 billion pounds of food is wasted, or 8,040,000 gallons. That's enough to fill up the Empire State Building 24.5 times. Disgusting. All of that food could either be reduced or turned into compost for a compost garden. You can reduce food waste in many ways. Stores like Walmart, Wegmans, and even BJ's make it a lot easier and cheaper to buy items in large quantities. But if you don't plan ahead before buying items in bulk, a lot of that food can go bad, and then you'd be losing money. Another way you can reduce food waste is by compost gardens. All you need is a wooden crate, and then you can put in grass clippings, eggshells, and banana peels. Air circulation, as well as moisture and microorganisms, naturally break down compost, which is good for the environment, but lessens the amount ending up in landfills. Most of us don't think twice about the food being wasted because most of us have never had to go without the necessities we need. If more of us knew about the food being wasted, I believe more people might do more to make a change. I believe that reducing food waste will help change the world, one banana peel at a time. Thank you.
We all know everybody has dreams and goals, but many of us think they're impossible. Why is it when things are tough, we often give up? Is it so much easier to say, this is too hard, I can't do this, versus I can do this, but it might take a lot of work? That's a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. Now, I'm sure a good percent of you want to be pro sports players, but those dreams often sound so far-fetched, it's easy to give up. But what if I told you many of those pro sports players got to where they are today because of their mindset? Take my uncle, for example. He got an Ivy League education and played Division I hockey. He actually ended up playing professional hockey for his hometown team, the Rochester Americans. He played on lots of teams, some being better than others, and going from one end of the ice to the other without losing the puck was really hard for him, as it is most players. But he worked through this challenge with hard work and perseverance. He never accepted less than his best. I hope to follow in his footsteps on the ice and on the golf course. Now, I might not play professional hockey or end up on the PGA, but I know having a growth mindset will be the only way to get there. Do I have a growth mindset all the time? No. But when I do, I can accomplish great things. A growth mindset is more than just a set of skills. It's the way that you tackle each task, knowing that you can learn from your mistakes to be the best you can be. Thank you.
My cousin Molly will never be able to talk or walk in her life. She has an unknown diagnosed disability. She has had many tests in New York and out of state. When she was 2 years old, she couldn't hold her head up. She had to wear a helmet to help support her neck muscles. She was also born pigeon-toed. She had to wear casts on both of her feet, and the doctors let her get special designs to make it seem fun. Molly's parents spent most of the time in the hospital. Now Molly is 8 years old. She still can't hold her head up, but she murmurs a little bit. And she can walk with the help of her splints. Molly has learned how to communicate using sign language. Molly's family has learned too. I have also had the opportunity to pick up on it. Molly's journey can teach us one of life's most important lessons. Challenges don't have to become obstacles. Instead, these challenges can be what motivates us to persevere and succeed. Success for Molly was learning how to walk with her splints and communicate using sign language. Molly has definitely inspired me more than she will ever know. How can you use your challenges as motivation to persevere and succeed?
Human beings are explorers. We live almost everywhere, from the most exotic jungles, the highest mountains, the most remote islands, the hottest deserts. Some of us live really high up, and some of us live in the deepest depths down in submarines. Either way, we live or have lived almost everywhere on Earth. But there are so many of us, close to 8 billion. Eventually, there will be no place to go. But the whole universe surrounds us. Space and planets and moons could be our next destination. Closest to us is the moon, our next frontier. But why? Because the Earth is full of trash, and the moon is the closest to us. It is also very plain and would be our best bet to surviving. It is also going to be very, very different. A moon day is 29 Earth days, which is almost a month. Guess what? We could start to colonize the moon today. But how? With a moon base. Scientists predict that a moon base will cost $20 to $40 billion over 10 years, similar to the price of the International Space Station. Technology developed on the moon will be used for other planets' outposts eventually. But it's hard to get the government to pay so much money over 10 years because they will most likely not be in office over 10 years. If they paid, here's more about the moon. The moon has no atmosphere, so that means no protection from meteorites or cosmic radiation, and the moon has a thick layer of dust. We have sent astronauts to the moon, and we have walked on the moon. We can build a moon base over 10 years. The base will have to be light and small for up to 12 people who will live there for a short time. For protection, the base will be placed inside a crater, as well as by the poles too, because a day there is 6 whole months, and that can provide lots of the sun's energy for solar panels. Scientists will go and study different materials and see what they can be used for. Lunar ice, for instance, can be turned into drinkable water or used for crops. Water can also be used to make oxygen and hydrogen gas, which can be used for fuel that can power rockets. We can also use supplies from the moon for missions to other planets, since the very start to colonizing space would be the moon. This would help us go planet to planet. So now we have a couple structures, but we can't bring everything from Earth because leaving Earth's gravity is difficult. So the solution is we use materials from the moon to make bigger structures. Those structures will not be brought from Earth, they will be used from the moon's natural materials. 3D printers would do more work as well to help build the structures. With more structures, more people can live there. To keep the place running, people will help get most of the stuff they need, including crops, water, energy, and fuel too. So then that's when more people would start to go to the moon to make money and eventually start a new family. Now it will be another space race, so nobody's sure who's going to be in charge of the moon. Either way, then the moon would be another place us humans would live. The moon is our next frontier. We are able to explore, map our territory, build structures, and places to live and survive. And then we start a new colony. The moon is also our best frontier for many other reasons, including the closeness to us. And there's no life there, so we can start new. No one knows what the future of humanity will bring, but we might not ever even leave Earth. But whatever happens, the moon base will always be a possibility. Thank you.
Who here loves the circus? Show of hands. A lot, right? I'm Jordan Hall and I love the circus, so there's one more to add to the lot of you. And it's not just because my dad and my grandpa were clowns. Yeah, I know, different. My mom would take me and my older sister, JC, to go watch my dad and my grandpa perform and see the circus. The story that I like the most that they would tell me is my grandpa's 60th birthday. When my grandpa was turning 60, my mom and dad tricked him into thinking that he was going to do a skit where he was going to jump out of a rocket ship and land on an unknown planet called Planet Clown. But instead, he was jumping out of his own birthday cake. Which brings me to what I want to say. Most countries are banning the circus because of animal abuse, stress, and confinement. Almost all animals will spend about 96% of their life behind bars, which is a long time, a really long time if you ask me, because I am very impatient. The circus will usually travel 48 weeks in a year, which is average. When the circus is traveling, the animals will stay in small or tiny cages, with their babies taken away shortly after birth. If their babies are taken away shortly after birth, it will lead to illnesses from stress and or depression. Animals are being physically abused in the standard training ways, which is hidden from the public eye because it is such a dark and disturbing way. If animals aren't doing well in training or performing, they will endure harsh punishments like starvation and or dehydration, which will lead to a shorter lifespan because of the training methods. There are other ways to entertain people without just the animals. Cirque du Soleil is a very famous circus. It is a Canadian entertainment company and the largest theatrical producer in the world. Cirque du Soleil is known as the Sun Circus, or the Circus of the Sun. Cirque du Soleil is so famous because it has no animals and it is all actors and actresses. There's more than one non-animal circus, like Circus Smirkus, Flying Fruit Fly Circus, and Circus Vargas. That's just to name a few. Don't shy away from the circus. Go enjoy the circus and have fun.
Have you ever had something that you just love to do so much that you just couldn't get enough of it? Like that favorite song of yours you couldn't stop listening to, or the video game you just couldn't turn off, or maybe the board game you always asked to play. Yet somehow, after a period of time, you find yourself sick of them. How could this be? It was your favorite song. You loved that video game. You asked for the board game for Christmas. Somehow our brains get turned off by doing the same thing over and over again. Boredom is usually caused by doing the same task repeatedly. In general, too much of the same thing can cause boredom, especially when the task is predictable and repetitive, even if it requires constant attention. Some people may say, if you find something you love, you should just keep doing it. This is a good idea, but too much of anything can become monotonous. In order to keep yourself engaged and having fun, find ways to build on your interests. Don't get stuck doing the same exact thing. There are so many activities to be part of, new songs to listen to, and more board games to play. Don't let boredom creep in. Keep finding ways to try new things. Thank you.
I'm sure we have all encountered someone who seems to be stuck in their own ways. They get frustrated easily, especially when others don't agree with them, and they tend to be more focused on proving themselves right than working towards a solution. These people exist in our classrooms, on our sports teams, and even at our workplaces. And let's face it, these closed-minded people are almost impossible to be around. Today, I hope to prove the importance of being open-minded. Open-minded people value others' opinions and ideas, and they use a disagreement as a way to expand their knowledge on a particular topic or issue. At times, I have found myself lacking this, open-mindedness. And an example of this is in a summer camp I did last year. During that summer camp, we had to make a poster, but at first I wanted to branch off and do it by myself and only remain focused on my own ideas. However, I realized that I was becoming more closed-minded by doing this. So I got back together with my group, and we all shared our ideas, and we ended up being one of the best posters. This just goes to show how helpful being open-minded can be. So I encourage you guys to go out there and be open-minded, because the benefits are truly amazing. Thank you.
My name is Gunnar, and 2 years ago, I had to live without a mom for 9 months because she has a disease called MS, or multiple sclerosis. She had a reaction to a flu shot that made her incapable of moving and walking. When I was in 3rd grade, I was at school when my mom called my dad, and my dad was at work and rushed home. When my mom was in the hospital, I was already home from school, and I didn't get to see her the day that I got home. And these are some things that I had to do by myself. At the time, I didn't do my own laundry, and I had to pack my own lunches every day. So I had to pack my own lunches, do the laundry for myself. And my brother taught me how to do the laundry once, then I started doing it. My mom usually made dinners every night for my family, but my dad couldn't make dinner every night for my family. So I had to make something else to eat, like grilled cheese, and I mean a lot of grilled cheese. Or I had to make leftovers from the other night. Every week I saw my mom 1 to 2 times when she was in the hospital, and I always gave her a big hug when I saw her. Sometimes we talked about how her week was going, and sometimes we talked about how my week was going. My mom got me some things from the gift shop as a sort of present. On Valentine's Day, my mom got me a dragon from the gift shop. And I still have the dragon. We would watch TV in my mom's room and get her something to eat that wasn't hospital food, like Subway or something. And sometimes we would visit my mom when she was in physical therapy, and I thought she was independent, trying to walk by herself, or at least trying. Independence is important because it makes you more capable of doing a task by yourself. Doing tasks by yourself is necessary because it makes you capable. Independence is important because you don't have to depend on somebody to do things for you. When you grow up, or if you get left home alone, you need independence to be able to function. And if you can't function, you won't be able to do anything. Because I had to get myself on the bus, make my own lunches, and do my own laundry, and cook for myself, I think I'm independent. I learned that my dad is neater than I thought, and that he can clean better. And I learned that my brother can help me. And I think I'm independent, and it made me independent so that I can do things on myself. I can do things by myself, and I don't have to depend on people.
I'm sure many of you play sports, play an instrument, or in other school clubs like art club, theater club, robotics, and many more. If not, I'm sure you know someone who is. I myself am a person with many interests. I play 3 sports, play percussion in the advanced band, and love to sing. So as you could see, I pursue a pretty busy lifestyle. Last year, my schedule was packed almost every day. A typical day consists of an early arrival to school for advanced band, a full 7-hour day of school, and a 2-hour theater club rehearsal, followed by a quick dinner at the Northwood foyer before attending my 2-hour cheer practice. I would get home around 8 o'clock, get a quick shower, and start my homework around 8:30. Although this wasn't my everyday routine, it was more frequent than not. I loved every minute of it, but I'm not going to lie, I was physically and mentally exhausted. I couldn't enjoy the things I loved because I was too worried about getting to the next and the next thing on my daily schedule. I definitely lacked balance. Heading into 6th grade, I knew I needed to make some changes. I had to prioritize what was most important in order to create a more healthy and balanced lifestyle. I chose to stay committed to some of my music and sports activities, but had to give up some of my other commitments. Even though I missed things like the theater club and the opportunity to play on a travel softball team, I know it's for the better. I am now less stressed, can eat dinner at my kitchen table, and do my homework at a reasonable hour. Living a balanced life is extremely challenging, and we all have lots of interests. My advice to you is before you sign up for any activities, don't just consider whether or not it fits your schedule. Make sure you have time for you. Thank you.
Raise your hand if you have a game console of any type. Okay? Keep it up if you play on it nearly every day. Keep your hand up if you've gotten in trouble because of it. Now, if your hand is up, I want you to think about, why is it up? People make video games mainly to make money, but some want kids to have fun and explore their games. Sadly, it's starting to grow on us. It's starting to make us stay inside instead of going out into the wilderness and having fun, actual fun. I want kids to play sports or anything other than video games. My name is Jason, and don't get me wrong, my hand would still be up. Now, I want you to think, why can't I do something else? You can. Play a board game, socialize, go out into the wilderness, anything, board games, card games, play with family, anything other than video games for lunch. I understand if you don't have the proper equipment to go out, like when it's too snowy and you don't have gloves or a scarf or anything of the other type. Now, my name is Jason, and this was my presentation. Thank you.
Get out 2 pieces of bread, spread jelly on one side and peanut butter on the other. Put them together. Cut it in half and carefully put it into a Ziploc bag. Part of my morning routine is making my lunch. As simple as a sandwich sounds, it has taught me how to plan, manage my time, and follow through with my responsibilities and tasks. At home, both my sister and I have our daily chores. These chores have helped me practice being responsible and deal with the consequences if they are not complete. As a society, we are overscheduled and cannot follow through with our responsibilities because it's just too much. People join clubs that overlap with other commitments and don't think about all the consequences. I enjoy playing sports, spending time with family, and hanging out with friends. I have learned how to manage my time to follow through with all these commitments. Learning to manage your time and follow through with your commitments is necessary for success in life. Create a morning routine. Routines help us practice the things we need to do in a specific order every day. Carry it around in a daily agenda or to-do list with specific dates and times when things must be done. Using a calendar can help you with short and long-term planning. 6th grade has been a busy year, but by being self-managed, I have been able to be successful with my schoolwork and activities. If you do not already have a way to be self-managed, I encourage you to get one sooner rather than later. It is an important part of being a successful person in life. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Claire, and I would like to tell you a story about my 13-year-old brother. Like most kids, he had a great experience in elementary school. He had lots of friends, liked his teachers, and was very focused. And then he went to middle school. It was a big change for him. He got to school early, then was expected to go from class to class with only 2 minutes of transition time. Did you know they only get those 2 minutes? This forced him to rush from class to class, often forgetting important papers. This caused him to be less organized and led him to be a lot less focused and a lot more tired. He's exhausted because of middle school. One day of this is fine, but there are 179 more of these days to go. That made me wonder, if recess helps your brain focus, then would my brother do better in middle school if he had some recess during the day? I think middle school kids should have some recess built into the day. They should get some time to relax and get their brain ready. Put yourself in their shoes. Class after class, day after day, going to school without a break. Some kids created their own solution, but not a good one. They're using their study hall to play on their phones and get a break. That's why my brother misses assignments in school. If they had free time, they could use this time efficiently. I'm not saying ban phones for middle school. I don't want a riot of angry teens running after me. In Finland middle school, there's breaks between each class. I bet they're focused. Did you know that playing outside and being active helps you remember what you learned? It also prepares you to learn new things. And in middle school, you learn a lot of new things. Free time also helps kids be more social at school. Maybe we can run school a little like Finland. Like I said earlier, they have breaks between each class. Some people might say school already has free time. They're thinking transition time is their free time. But it's just rushing them even more, and it's making them panic. If they panic, what if they forget an important piece of paper? And that's not the worst part. They could get in school suspension for being late for class only 2 times. I mean, that's a little rough. This is for the middle schoolers. Don't they work hard enough? Maybe we could have a break period, about 8 or 10 minutes long. I think that's fair enough, right? Who I really want to hear this speech are the middle school teachers and the middle school principals. They could make the biggest difference. So now let's see what we can do to give these teens a rest. First, we could, like I said, have a break period. Second, we could give them breaks between each class. Third, we could actually give them recess in school. Fourth, we could give them more transition time. Those are only a couple of my ideas. I want this problem to be fixed. Raise your hand if one of your siblings are in middle school. Now raise your hand if they've ever gotten a bad grade on a test. Well, that's probably because they weren't focused. Because they didn't get time to prepare their brain. And to do that, they need free time. So let's help these teens.
Saving the rainforest is easier than you might have thought. Saving the rainforest is a huge goal for one person, and let's face it, it's unrealistic. But that doesn't mean we should just let our beautiful rainforest crumble around us. These small things we can do will make a difference. First of all, use less paper. Paper comes from rainforest trees, which is one of the reasons they're being cut down. Did you know that Americans alone use 90 million tons of paper each year? That's around 700 pounds per person. A tree makes around 1 ton of paper, so it would take around 90 million trees just to sustain our paper. How do we cut down on this amount? Recycle to prevent new paper from being created, use both sides of paper, or go digital. Another way to save the rainforest is to eat less fast food. I know it sounds crazy. Fast food or cattle farms are set up on rainforest land, but the trees must be cleared first using fire. How can we stop this? Don't go to restaurants that get their meat from these farms. If you're not sure where they get their meat from, ask them. If they refuse to tell you, well, that's concerning. Some people think that rainforests don't matter. However, this isn't true. According to www.rainforestmaker.org, out of the 3,000 plants that the U.S. National Cancer Institute has identified as useful in the treatment of cancer, 70% of these plants are found only in rainforests. Furthermore, 80% of the developed world's foods are found in rainforests, and half the world's plants and animal species live in rainforests. Rainforests used to cover 14% of the Earth's surface. However, they only cover 2% of the Earth's surface. Experts say that 2% could be destroyed in less than 40 years. This can't happen. We must do something about it. If we all do these small things in our daily lives, we can save the rainforests. And since 20% of our oxygen is found in rainforests, you might want to help.
Hi, my name is Lucas Childs, and I believe we should get kids off electronics and outside more. Some kids get home from school at 3 p.m., play video games, use their phone, or even watch TV the whole night. That is at least 9 hours of time spent on electronics, which could better be spent on work, homework, sleep, or time outside. If you are one of these kids, you should stop, and I'm going to tell you why. According to a recent study done by Common Sense Media, which is an independent nonprofit organization, an average teen spends 9 hours per day on a screen. This study also found that too much screen time can have bad consequences, such as 1, impact a child's social, physical, and cognitive development. 2, lower a child's ability to focus. And 3, lower a child's empathy and social well-being. A study by the American Heart Association suggests that too much screen time can lead to cardiovascular disease, high cholesterol, and obesity. Given all these consequences, we need to get off our electronics. I can tell you from personal experience, I also like my screen time. However, once you get outside and see what you're missing, you will love it just like I do. One winter day, instead of screen time, I went with my dad and my dog to Burger Park in Hilton. There were amazing views. It was beautiful. We walked our dog all through what we thought were trails, but turned out to be deer beds. It was so cool. There were puddles of thin ice that you could not see. Each time we stepped on them, it was a surprise as they broke and stopped us in our tracks. If you go in the summer, you might find treasures such as a bullet shell my sister found while we were on a hike with my grandfather at a different park. In addition to the aesthetic benefits, there are numerous health benefits to spending time outdoors. For example, 1, exercise. Me and my dad walked over a mile, which is good physical activity if you're just trying to be healthy, or if you're trying to lose weight. 2, fresh air. Fresh air helps your body by helping your immune system to fight off diseases more effectively due to healthier white blood cells. Breathing in stale air will not supply your body with enough oxygen to keep your blood cells fueled and functioning properly. Another benefit of spending time outdoors is you can learn more. Get out of your comfort zone and try new things. You can also go play with your friends, ask your parents to play with you, ride a bike, play a board game or card game, or play in a garden. You could also exercise by playing games such as basketball, baseball, soccer, tennis, pickleball, or go for a run. Being outside is good for your mental health. Studies suggest that people who live in environments with more green spaces are likely to have lower levels of cortisol, which is a hormone that produces stress. So does this mean we have to give up our electronics altogether? No, but there are limits. According to the American Heart Association, kids ages 2 to 6 should limit their screen time to 1 hour, and kids ages 8 to 18 should limit their screen time to 2 hours. If you have screen time for 5 hours a day, it may be hard to cut down to the recommended limit all at once. Instead, you can slowly decrease your amount of screen time by 30 minutes a day. For example, if you typically spend 5 hours a day in front of a screen, try reducing to 4 hours and 30 minutes, then reducing further. I hope you are encouraged to get off a screen and outside more. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Naomi Rosario, and I'm a Quest Elementary student. Think about what you had for lunch yesterday. How much of it did you throw in the trash? Think about how much trash the whole world just threw away for one meal. Every year, the U.S. population throws away 1.6 billion diapers, 16 billion pens, 2 billion razor blades, 220 million car tires, and enough aluminum to rebuild all U.S. commercial airplanes 4 times over. All of this can be recycled, but somehow a lot of it ends up in our oceans and landfills, and that's just the United States. Landfills emit dangerous gases like carbon dioxide and methane. These gases negatively affect climate change by destroying the ozone layer, which changes temperatures all over the world. The U.S. is the #1 trash-producing country in the world. We create 1,609 pounds of trash by each person each year. That's equal to 524 billion pounds of trash a year. Not recycling can also affect the ocean. When you put things that can be recycled in the landfill, they can fly away and land in the ocean. Many people also illegally dump trash into the ocean. Over 1 million marine animals are killed each year due to plastic debris in the ocean. Many animals who are looking for food might eat the plastic and die. Major rivers around the world can carry up to 2.5 million tons of trash. That's enough to fill 100,000 garbage trucks. Recently, I worked on a project in school with a few other kids on how we can use less disposable things in our everyday life. We decided to do a trash audit to see how many recyclable items kids put in the trash. We found a lot of recyclable waste, and guess where a lot of it was? The trash. We found plastic bottles, paper, and cups all in the trash. So, how can we stop this from happening? We can't patrol all the rivers in the world, but what we can do is watch what we put in our garbage cans. We could start just by using reusable things like water bottles, containers, or even a cloth napkin you don't need to throw out. A lot of our unrecycled plastic also comes from the plastic bags we get from the supermarket and other stores. And again, we can fix that by asking for paper bags or by bringing your own reusable bags to the store. My family made the choice to use recycled car tires as mulch for the bushes and shrubs around our house. But there are many creative ways we can all help. The National Geographic is currently challenging the world to reduce the use of plastic. Their goal is to prevent 1 billion plastic items from reaching the ocean by 2020. They are doing this by getting as many people to take a pledge to reduce single-use plastic. I have taken the pledge and invite you all to do the same with me. You can do so by going to natgeo.com/planetorplastic and help keep plastic out of our oceans and rivers. Rubber and plastic are great materials we use in many areas of our lives. It's in the tires of the bus that bring us to school, the soles of our shoes that we are all wearing right now, and it's probably also in the seat that you sit on in your classrooms and offices. We just need to be more responsible with using them as much as possible and what we do with them when we no longer need them. Thank you.
Do you ever wonder why we have words, or why we need so many? Why the English language is so complex? I've asked these same questions. Truth is, we could have way less words, maybe even none. Some of you might think that the idea of this is crazy, but hear me out. We don't need this many words whatsoever. We could convey the same meaning in a much easier manner, and it wouldn't require the words we have today. We could convey meaning using aspects other than just connecting sounds with meaning. Think of the four main aspects to speaking: pitch, length, stress, and timbre. Pitch determines if a sentence is a question, exclamation, or plain statement. However, in Mandarin Chinese, the pitch alone can determine the meaning of a word. Around 70% of our languages are tonal. In tonal languages, the same word said with a different pitch could mean a multitude of things. Length is also important. Length is how long you hold a word out for. For example, Morse code. Where in Morse code, how many beeps and how long the beeps are determine the meaning of the message. Timbre is a sound quality determined by things like vibrato. Vibrato is where you can hold the same note out and fluctuate the sound to change the meaning. With all these components combined, we have endless ways to convey meaning. But you might still say that there are no languages on Earth with limited to no words. It would be a valid argument if it were true. Many languages exist with a limited vocabulary. For example, Tokopono only has 123 different words, while the English language has 476 words in total. Furthermore, there's a real native language on Earth called Silbo-Gomoro, a language composed of whistles alone and no words. So why does the English language have so many words? Why are we not allowing ourselves an easier form of communication? We are just connecting sounds with meaning. And with all the possibilities, can't we just consider words worthless? Thank you.
Don't worry about what other people think. Well, that's easier said than done. Movies, TV, and social media all portray a certain image of what happiness and self-confidence looks like. We tend to think people feel more confident when they have new things like new clothes, a nice car, even new sports equipment. Don't get me wrong, they are nice things, but do they really help you build your self-confidence? Research shows that 85% of people in our world lack self-confidence. Why is this such a huge problem? We tend to think people feel more confident when they have nice things. We have to do the best, be the best, have the best in order to feel like the best, so the pressure is constant. But here are 4 ways to prevent losing more self-confidence. 1, don't involve in so much social media. Social media can be very addictive, so more often than not, it leads to comparing yourself to others. 2, it's important to identify the things that upset you and identify where they're coming from. And if you can change it, then change it. 3, surround yourself with people who have the same values as you. Make sure your values align. And then make sure they recognize your strengths and don't point out your flaws and insecurities. And 4th of all, this is probably the most important, you have to make sure you believe in yourself. Nobody can make you feel worse than yourself. Not the class bully, not your parents, not your best friend, quote unquote, not antagonists above all antagonists, it's yourself. So make sure your mindset is directed towards success. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jazz Bianchi, and I have some questions for all the kids in the audience. Are you not allowed to walk across the street by yourself? Do your parents not let you participate in physical sports? Are you not allowed to go outside without your parents? Do you have to be in your parents' sight at all times? Are you not allowed to make your own lunch? Do your parents jump in the second you might be doing something wrong? Does your parent freak out when you get hurt? If you answered yes to most of these questions, you probably have overprotective parents. Overprotective parenting is a big issue because you are not exposing children to the world around them. According to Psychology Today, there are 2 types of stress, short-term stress and long-term stress. Long-term stress is very bad because it can lead to anxiety and depression as an adult. Short-term stress happens in sports, video games, and all competitions. This is mostly why we enjoy them so much. Evidence shows that short-term stress is not only beneficial and fun, but necessary to childhood development. Overprotective parents shield their kids from all type of stress, which is not helping. Physical exertion, arguments, competitions with winners and losers, getting bumps, bruises, and scratches are all forms of short-term stress that are beneficial to childhood development. Some parents shield their kids from failing, and that's not helping. Kids need to learn that failing is good, and it can help them a lot. Some kids don't learn to take responsibility for their decisions, and they won't learn how to be independent. As they get older, they will need someone's advice or approval before they make decisions for themselves. Kids need to be exposed to the real world, and even if they are young, they have to learn how to be independent and make decisions for themselves. And they have to know that not making mistakes is good for them, and it's okay if they fail. Parents need to let their kids do things for themselves and sometimes be more independent. Thank you.
Whenever things go wrong or an obstacle appears, we are all often very quick to pump the brakes and react negatively. We will instantaneously blame others, question their intentions, and even at times give up. I'm sure that at times like these, many of us have been fed the classic line, "You just need a better mindset. Think positively. Stay optimistic. Be persistent." Well, aren't you a genius? I mean, that thought never crossed my mind, not once. No one realizes that developing a mindset like this takes more effort, endurance, and time than you realize. I've done the research and narrowed it down to 5 positive ways that you can change your mindset. Positive thinking has a variety of health benefits, both mentally and physically. It can reduce your risk of cardiovascular disease and create a greater resistance to the common cold, which will lengthen your lifespan. Research also shows that better developed thinking skills can provide coping mechanisms for times of hardship and in stressful situations. Studies have proven that negative thinking narrows your mindset. I want you to use your imagination for a minute. Imagine that you are out in the wilderness, alone and afraid, and out of nowhere, you see a ferocious lion charging at you. Your instincts kick in and you begin to run. You look over your shoulder and it's chasing you. It's getting closer and closer and closer. What are you supposed to do now? If only you had taken a moment to stop and think, you would have been able to open a whole new world of opportunities to yourself. If there's a tree, you could have climbed up, or you could have taken a branch for self-defense. If your outfit matched the colors around you, you could have tried to use camouflage to blend in and avert the lion's gaze. If you had food with you in a bag or something, you could have distracted the lion with it. There are so many options that you could have had in that situation, but instead, like many other situations, you let your instincts take over. Thankfully, we don't encounter lions on a daily basis here in Hilton, but we do encounter situations that cause us to engage in high levels of stress and anxiety. Finding ways to manage your reactions along with levels of stress and anxiety will help you remain more positive, and in the end, it can lead you to a better outcome. Positive thinking allows you to open yourself to new possibilities and opportunities for personal growth. And in order to achieve this, here are 5 crucial rules to consider. Rule 1, start your day with positivity. There are probably hundreds and maybe even thousands of apps and websites that provide daily affirmations. A daily affirmation is a phrase or a quote that encourages someone to think positively and reach a certain goal that it maps out for that day. Some topics could be forgiveness, teamwork, cooperation, and friendship. You get the point, so on. If this isn't working out for you, maybe you can try a daily 3. The basic idea of a daily 3 is to find 3 good things about your life that will make today great. Rule 2, focus on the bigger picture. Every day, you will encounter plenty of situations that will make someone understandably upset or frustrated, but what needs to be a reminder is that being upset and being frustrated are emotions, and emotions change very often. So why should we dwell on these? Instead, think of something positive that these could contribute to. Rule 3, surround yourself with those you aspire to be like. We all will idolize someone, whether it's family, friends, or even a celebrity. If you want to be like someone, the best way to achieve this is by surrounding yourself with people who are similar to them. This way you see the characteristics of this person and you can insert them into your own life to improve yourself. Rule 4, turn negative self-talk into positive self-talk. We all become used to saying things like, I'm terrible at this, and why do I even try, and why can't I be as good as that person? These thoughts actually affect you much more than you think they do. They turn into internalized feelings, which could connect to the negative mindset that many of us maintain on a day-to-day basis. Instead, remind yourself to work hard and practice to get better at something and achieve your main goal. And if you think someone is comparatively better than you, maybe you can take notes on that individual's strengths and use that to improve your weaknesses. Rule 5, turn mistakes into lessons. You obviously are not perfect and you never will be. You will experience failure in multiple scenarios with multiple people. Instead of focusing on how you failed, think about how you can turn that into a lesson. Make new suggestions for yourself with each mistake. And if a project went wrong, maybe you can make new suggestions to prevent the same things from happening again. Life is not fair nor easy. It's easy to let stressful and negative situations consume us and to let our stress and anxiety take over with our instinct of how to react to it. But we can train and learn how to react to these situations in a positive way. The 5 rules given are difficult because the do's are new concepts and the don'ts are habits we've developed and grown used to. If you think that this isn't important, you're already breaking rule number 2 to focus on the bigger picture. This widespread problem of negativity could not only affect you, but it could affect your entire community. Positivity is very contagious, but it requires the right frame of mind and a conscious effort to make it happen. I really do encourage you to try these 5 new rules. I guarantee that if you do, eventually it'll change your outlook on life. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Claire and I'm here to talk to you about composting. You should compost because you can help yourself survive. How can you help yourself survive? Well, let me tell you what happens when we don't compost. First, your peels and vegetable scraps go into the garbage. It's a perfectly good soil starter. It's taking up room in your garbage instead of going where it should go. This is a problem because we need it for the worms to keep the worm population up, but it also creates more garbage. Next, your garbage goes into a landfill. It might not go into the ground and it just sits there when it could be composted and helping soil somewhere else. Another problem with this is that it takes up more garbage bags, and garbage bags are made of plastic. You can reduce the number of garbage bags you use if you compost instead of throwing so much away.
Right now, about 30% of what you throw away is good material that can be turned into soil. It's compostable. Could you imagine if our world had 1/3 less garbage? We have so much garbage right now that if we got rid of 1/3, it's so much garbage in the world. This would save room on Earth for plants, parks, playgrounds, and stores. Wouldn't you rather compost than throw out compostable soil and then live in a world of trash? My mom inspired me to compost because she works for Impact Earth and helps kids become more aware of what they throw away. At Quest, we divert our food scraps and compostable products from the landfill, and they are hauled to a local farm. It's easy to compost. We compost at our house. We compost our coffee grounds, eggshells, fruit scraps, and vegetable scraps. You should compost now. And if you don't compost, then start little. You can't make a change in the world if you don't try, and I want to make a change in the world. And I hope you're as inspired as me to start composting.
Audience, raise your hand if you've ever been doubted at any moment in your life. Now raise your hand if you've ever been stressed at any moment in your life. Well, guess what? I'm just like you are. I do both those things too. Back in my old school, when I used to ride the bus, I did not like it. I used to hate the bus due to the fact that I was the only happy, kind, nice kid on the bus. Everybody else would constantly yell, push people out of their seats, and say bad words. I did not like that one bit because I didn't have anybody to talk to. But did I mention yelling? I used to talk to this one kid on the bus, and every time I went to tell him something I'm passionate about, like making the world snow-free or a better place, he would always respond with the same thing. You can't do that. You're just a kid in kindergarten. That drove me nuts. I wish I was older so I could do all these things that I wanted to do. Eventually, I got so sick and tired of that, I just stopped talking to everybody in total. I got lonely, but it was a lot better than constantly being knocked down instead of built up. Now I want these 2 words to ring in your guys' head. Mental strength. Just because I'm a 10-year-old, I don't lose that. This is for adults too. And another word is stress. Adults, you stress about a job interview, a meeting, something like that. We students can stress about a test or something else. How you would prevent that is always be your best self and think your best self. Now I have a few words for you guys to remember, okay? Always try your hardest. What you grow now, you'll harvest later. Now can you guys say that back? And then one more is, I got this, I know I have it. Now you guys repeat that back. Now remember to always be your best self, and thank you.
We all hate the feeling of being bored. You know, that feeling of having no one to talk to or nothing to do. The question is, how far will we go to not be bored? Are our brains comfortable with little to no stimulation? What power does stimuli truly have on the brain? Finding ways to stimulate our brains can be difficult and is different for each person depending on who you are. For some, it's as simple as just playing catch with a wooden block, but for others, they might need their phone or someone to talk to. Lack of brain stimulation does have its risks and can potentially be harmful. Some people will go to the extreme of hurting themselves just to stimulate their brains. People are performing TES, which stands for transcranial electrical stimulation. Mild, non-invasive electrical waves are sent to a subject's brains through stimuli pads. Some say this could address psychiatric problems and enhance creativity. The dangers aren't known yet, so scientists stay leery of it. An experiment was conducted by Michael Stevens, a public speaker and educator, where he asked random individuals to wait patiently in an empty room for about 10 to 15 minutes. But the catch was, inside that room, there was a machine that would shock you every time you pressed the button. After only 30 to 45 seconds, the subject pressed the button and continued to do it around every minute or so, even though it hurt him. He wasn't the only one with behavior like this. This proves that people will find ways to stimulate their brains if it is not getting the stimulation it needs. Having some sort of stimulation is very important because your brain acts very differently when not under it. It's amazing the power it truly has on the brain. Whether we realize it or not, stimuli plays a big role in our lives, our thinking, and how we learn. In school, teachers work to find ways to stimulate our brains and try to keep us active. What they teach and how this information is delivered all plays a role in our thinking and how we learn. Boredom often occurs because our brains lack stimuli and have little activity, causing us to be unfocused. Not to put any more pressure on teachers, but you do play an integral part in helping students stay active and focused in class. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Matthew Speeder. Hope you enjoy my speech. Swimming. Either you see it as a sport or an activity. Both are true. Which one do I see it as? I see it as a sport. So at the middle school, there's a pool, and you probably swim there for fun, but not me. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night at 5:20 p.m., me and my team all enter the pool area. I see people, we talk for a while and get our stuff, but at 6:30, we get into the pool. My group has 2 lanes, 3 and 4, I'm in 4. We all practice swimming for about 2 hours each day, and then that repeats the next day. We all have one goal, to be the fastest swimmer we can be. Now I'm going to talk about the positives and negatives of swimming. Swimming has a lot of positives and only 2 negatives that I can think of. First, chemicals get in your hair, it stinks. Second, not many people have what it takes and give up too early. Now let's talk about the positive stuff. The first quality is how healthy it is. You're working out for 2 hours depending on your group. It's also good for you mentally. Scientists prove that swimming helps with anxiety and depression because when you're working hard, you forget about all your problems. You might think, well, what else can swimming do for you? Well, there's one more thing. It helps you with social health because you meet many people and you can do it with your friends. If your friends do not come, meet new people there. The pool is a great place to do that. Swimming is helpful for other things too, like goal setting and being competitive. You will not believe this, but people that do swimming will do better in school too. The final thing I'll tell you about is what other people say about swimming. My coach says swimming is good for me. My friend says swimming is hard. The girls in my lane like it because they do it together. My sister says it's fun, and my mom says it makes me a better person. You can see the results are mostly positive. Even my friend who says it's hard because challenging yourself is good. I could go all day talking about why swimming is good though, but these are the important points. You might wonder how to be on the swim team. Ask your parents to look into tryouts, or if you're not interested, go to the middle school on Friday night for open swim. Whether you swim a little or a lot, or do the sport or just have fun, the important thing is to just appreciate it. You only live once, so try it out. I'm not asking for you to go to 3 times a week for 2 hours a day, but just remember that swimming is good for you and you should give it a shot. Thank you.
I've played hundreds of hours of video games, but have you ever considered that video games are changing the world just by how much time they take away from your daily life? With games come millions of players who play for multiple hours a day. In fact, the average player plays for 2 hours a day. This is affecting kids, especially socially. Kids can talk and play on the video games, but this does not require social contact. And some video games even inspire individual play. However, I believe if video games are played in moderation, they can be a good thing. Video games can help with hand-eye coordination, problem-solving skills, and can also enhance memory and concentration. For both kids and adults, this can improve the brain performance. I understand if parents don't want their kids engulfed in video games, but even an hour a day can be beneficial. Thank you.
What is pain? Think. What is pain? The denotative meaning of pain is physical suffering or discomfort caused by an illness or injury. But to us, in connotative meaning, it means you're hurt. It could be emotionally or physically. Emotionally, as when you're sad because your pet died, or physically because someone just punched you in the stomach.
I used to be very susceptible to pain. My feelings would get damaged easily and it would affect me intensely. If someone says something to me like, "You're ugly," it would really get to me and crush me inside. I would replay the moment over and over inside my head and tell myself I'm worthless. But one day, this past December, my whole perspective changed. My grandpa was out one night and had what everyone thought was a stroke. His right arm started shaking, he froze, and was unable to talk. He was rushed to the hospital. What the doctors found was not good. They found 2 tumors on the left side of his brain. No one really knew what these tumors meant or if they had terminal effects. The doctors did a couple of tests. The results were fatal. One of the tumors was not cancerous, but the other one was. That day was a life-changing day for me and my family. My grandpa was diagnosed with brain cancer. That emotion of pain immediately engulfed me inside. It took over my thoughts and my feelings. I didn't know what was happening. Once the doctors found this tumor to be cancerous, they scheduled him for surgery. Since there is no medicine in existence right now that cures cancer completely, surgery was the only way to cure him. The doctors planned to remove the tumor from inside his brain. The surgery would be a very complicated process which would require them to break his skull. Your skull is the only protection you have between your brain and your skin. The doctors planned to replace this part of his skull with a metal plate to protect him as he further lives. On February 15th, 2019, at 7 a.m., my grandpa went to Strong Hospital for the surgery that we all hoped would change his life for the better. As difficult as this has been for me, I knew the pain that he would feel inspired me to become a stronger person. Even though I was upset, I needed to find the strength to be strong for him. I'm not quite sure how I was able to do it, but somehow I did. I realized that despite the pain I was going through and how hard it was, I was much stronger than I had thought. Since my grandpa's cancer was unexpected and the surgery happened all so quickly, I realized I had no choice. I had this strength inside of me and I just had to trust that it was there. By the time I came home from school that Friday, my grandpa was already out of surgery and in good conditions. He was only able to say a couple of words and could barely use his right arm since they operated on the area of the brain where that was controlled. But by the time I visited him a week later, he was already so much better and on the road to recovery. Sometimes it takes going through a lot of pain to realize how strong you truly are. The pain that I faced was real. The pain that I faced was to be strong for someone else, and I was able to get through it. I am proud of the strength that I found within me. Many of you may have gone through something similar or will someday. Trust yourself. Trust that you have the strength to get through something that may seem unbearable or impossible. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Riley, and I was 4 and I had an imaginary friend. Her name was Tia. Since I had told my parents about other imaginary friends, they never really listened to me, or they didn't believe me, so I never really told them about this. I think that it is important for kids to play and believe as much as they want. They could go as far as knowing Babe Ruth. I think kids should have imaginary friends if it makes them happy. Let them do it. I had a best friend that believed everything I did, even Tia. But when she told her parents about what we told each other, her parents shut her down, as did mine. Let kids live their life, even if it's an imaginary one. Parents should let their kids believe in things that maybe aren't true, but that's okay. If you don't believe in them, then when they're young, when they're older, they won't tell you things because they think that you won't believe them. Kids can even develop trust issues from this. So next time, think before you say, "That's not real," or "Stop imagining." Next time, believe like a kid. Like Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge. Imagination is possibilities, creativity, and most important, thinking outside the box. Let's play a game. Close your eyes and think about one thing you want to do. Maybe it could be driving a race car or being in space. I'll give you a little bit of time to think about this. Now raise your hand if you thought that was boring or pointless. You should think, wow, I want to go in space. I want to do that. But life isn't like that. When was the last time you got off your iPad or phone and imagined you were building a castle instead of doing it on a screen? Playing pretend. If you take 30 minutes out of your day to go to space or go on a picnic with you and your friend and a lion, I promise your life will be better, more imaginative. If you're an adult, raise your hand. If you play pretend with your kids for 30 minutes a day, you can make them more happy. If you just make a fort with blankets and have flashlights and even have a pretend fire made from pillows. Now that's fun, even if they are in 6th grade. I hope I've inspired you.
Thank you.
Nobody likes to lose. I mean, who shows up to a game saying it's okay if we lose today? No one. At least no one that I know of. I know most all of you have lost a game before. I've had many experiences with it. It's not a very fun experience, though. How many of you come up with an excuse? I'm not gonna lie, I know I do. My main excuse, well, really my only excuse is, it's the ref's fault. I don't like losing, but believe it or not, there are actually things you can learn from it. If you win every game, you won't know what to do when you face failure. Last year, my soccer team, Hilton Heat U11, had our worst loss in history. We made it to the championship of the tournament. The whole game was tied 0-0. It went into overtime and ended in shootouts. The whole year we've been preparing for this moment. Fairport scored, we scored. They missed, we missed. They score, and now they are ahead, 2-1. The pressure was on. Here was my chance. I took the shot. I had missed. I was devastated. I felt like I had let my whole team down. I had two choices. I could hang my head low and give up, or I could come back tomorrow ready to work hard, get better, and learn from my mistakes. Sometimes, by losing a battle, you find a new way to win the war. You aren't defeated when you lose. You are defeated when you quit. A champion is not afraid of losing. Some people might see losing as a failure. However, it's not about how often you fail, it's about how you choose to respond to each failure. Keep your head up. Use every failure as an opportunity to learn and get better. Thank you.
I have so much homework to do. Why do I have to do it? Seriously, we have to go to the grocery store again? We spend 5 hours every time we go. Jury duty? No way, not again. Didn't I go last week? Come on. Most of us can relate because complaining is part of our everyday lives. Whether we intentionally do it or not, we all complain. Complaining. Expressing annoyance or dissatisfaction about something is quite easy to do, especially in today's culture. We are used to instant gratification, and we get upset whenever something so small goes wrong. Did you know the average person complains 30 times a day? That's more than one complaint every hour. Complaining can have serious health effects on your body. It can damage your brain and increase stress. I complained so much, it really got on my parents' nerves. So much so that my mom told me the best gift ever would be if I could go a whole day without complaining. Geez, I didn't even realize I was that much of a complainer. I had no idea I spent a lot of my time being negative. Believe it or not, that day turned my whole world around. I did actually go 24 hours without complaining, and afterwards, I felt like a different person. Someone who was positive and happier. I even smiled more. When you complain, you bring yourself down along with everyone else around you. You set yourself up for a negative attitude and mindset, and suddenly you see everything as something to frown about. And then, what do you know? You're having yet another bad day. Complaining doesn't get you anywhere in life. It doesn't even change whatever you were complaining about. Complaining is similar to smoking in that once you complain once, it's easier to repeat that behavior, making it become a bad habit. Before you know it, you can become someone who just complains, complains, and complains all the time. I think I found myself falling right into that category. Complaining can seem quite challenging to stop. However, I want you all to remember, no matter how pessimistic you may be, you can put an end to your complaints. This may sound silly, but whenever you feel a complaint on the tip of your tongue, imagine yourself locking it up and throwing away the key. Visual images do help. An even simpler way to deal with complaining is to find a positive way to look at the complaint, an optimistic way. Now, my conversations at home might sound more like, hey, more homework means I get more practice before the test next week. Or, we probably should go to the grocery store. I need some juice boxes and yogurt for my lunch. Although it may be difficult, try to turn a complaint into something to smile about rather than frown about. In conclusion, complaining has many consequences, and it's adding unnecessary negativity to your everyday life. By just making a small change with my behavior, I was able to change not only my own feelings and perspective on my day, but also on everyone else around me. I challenge all of you to do the same. Next time complaints begin to pile up in your head, think twice. You really do have the chance to make a change. Thank you.